Welcome to a Legendarium special about Off on a Comet, quite possibly Jules Verne's strangest novel. In the comments section, let me know what you think about this novel based upon this video. On February 8, 1828, Pierre and Sophie Verne welcomed their first child, Jules Gabriel, at the home of Sophie's mother in Nantes, a city in western France. Verne's birthplace had a profound impact on his life and writing. During the early 19th century, Nantes became a busy port city that served as a major hub for French shipbuilders and traders. The Verne family lived on Île Feydeau, a small man-made island on a tributary of the Loire River. He spent his childhood watching ships sail down the Loire River and imagining what it would be like to live aboard them. Once the adolescent Verne attempted to board a ship, only to be caught and return to his family. While he returned to school and studied law, his thoughts always took him to distant and exotic places. His writings would in turn take readers to the South Pacific, Africa, under the sea, and eventually into space itself. His most famous books include seminal works like Journey to the Center of the Earth, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and Around the World in 80 Days. These books made up part of a 54-book series known as The Extraordinary Voyages. Another extraordinary voyage became the 1877 book Hector Severdac, which appeared in a French magazine aimed at younger readers. It appeared in installments throughout the year 1877. It would be translated into English and published as a novel under the title Off on a Comet, which does contain the nub of the story. A comet crashes into Earth and scoops up a lump of North Africa, the Mediterranean Sea, and several islands, and carries it into space with human survivors on board. This is the first impossibility in a book written by an author long known for his concern with both science and scientific accuracy. The comet's impact does not pulverize or vaporize anything, and the Earth fragments pulled into space in the comet's tail retain their water and atmosphere. Even in Verne's time, that would be highly dubious. Yet in this case, it seems Verne was less concerned with scientific accuracy and more with an extraordinary adventure. The 60 people carried off into space spend half the book figuring out what happened to them. One of the passengers is Captain Hector Severdac of the French Algerian Army. First, the passengers gradually realize that the location of the stars have changed, and that the weather begins a drastic swing. At first, the survivors come together to keep warm and enjoy ice skating on the ocean, which slowly freezes as they go deeper and deeper into space. As the comet swings out through the solar system, it becomes colder and colder until the passengers can only survive by retreating into a volcanic cave. In time, they enjoy some up-close views of Saturn and Jupiter, which appear metallic to their eyes. Comet passengers also endure and gradually adapt to much lower levels of gravity. This allows Captain Severdac, himself an accomplished rider, to leap his horse more than 60 feet in the air. When they at last contact an astronomer who also got scooped off, things become clear, and they understand that the comet's 2-year parabola will bring it closer to Earth. As it draws closer to the sun once more, the Earth fragments began to thaw and the oceans melt, but their new home becomes incredibly hot. The survivors return to Earth by means of a hot air balloon, something previously imagined by Edgar Allan Poe in The Voyage of Hans Pfaall, written 40 years earlier. Verne often used hot air balloon flights in earlier novels, such as 5 Weeks in a Balloon, appropriately titled. He also portrayed a more accurate space voyage inside a giant artillery shell in From the Earth to the Moon. Once more, Verne uses a scientific impossibility to keep his science fiction story moving forward. For the ending of his novel, Verne wanted to portray Earth as still reeling from the devastation caused by the comet's impact. He also toyed with the idea of the comet simply crashing into Earth, killing everyone on board. This might have been the reason for naming his hero Servadac, which comes from the French word for corpses. Instead, Verne's publisher Hetzel persuaded him that such a downbeat ending would anger his mostly young readers. Because of this, Off on a Comet has a hallucinatory final chapter. The returning travelers come home to a world that has no recollection of being struck by a comet, nor does it have any physical damage. No one remembers the catastrophe, and the travelers themselves simply wonder if they shared the same delusion. Did anything actually happen? The readers enjoyed an extraordinary adventure, though many would argue this is not one of Verne's strongest books, though it is certainly his most unusual. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.